The Redondo Beach Center for Spiritual Living and the Ministry of Dr. Moira Foxe presents Living Ideas.
So welcome into this good day, and I know one or two may be wondering why we're singing Christmas songs in Advent. Yes, I got a yes over here. Well, it's because we can do anything we want to do. And we are not confined by seasons, but actually it's kind of the custom here. I mean, at home they would be appalled in the, old country to be singing Christmas songs in Advent, for goodness sakes. You're not there yet. Wake up. You have a little bit of preparation to do. That's what Advent is all about. It's preparing yourself for the light to dawn and shine through when Christmas comes. And it's because in Europe, Christmas begins on Christmas Day, and it continues for the 12 days of Christmas up until the 6th of January, which is the Feast of the Epiphany, or the Manifestation of the Lord, which is the law. And we sing all our songs at that time. And the actual church calendar goes into Christmas until the 2nd of February. So we do it all before. Over there, they do it all on time, as they would see it. But of course, we have a way of doing everything our own way. So we're going to use up those beautiful opportunities on these Sundays to sing our Christmas songs and know that the light is always available to us and always ready to dawn for those of us who are ready to get out of its way and let it come through. So for those of you who are a bit confused, that's the reasoning. And now, having given you that mini lesson, we will start the lesson for the day, which is to do with a slightly different topic, and that would be the Lonliness Syndrome. And it may seem a strange time to be addressing it, but it's not at all. For there are very many people at this time of year and all the holiday times that experience what we call this sense of aloneness or loneliness. And it happens for us all too, and we all know it very well, because bouts of loneliness we're in and out of all of the time. And if we're not, then we're paralyzed or something is not registering, because it is an okay condition to be in once it's not psychotic. If it's psychotic, it's something else. But if it's just regular, normal sensing of estrangement and aloneness and so on, it's an opportunity for growth and advancement. It's an opportunity that visits us to say, you need to stop, you need to look, and you need to listen. You're spending too much time focused on the outside world now, and you need to look on the inside of life. And that's the opportunity. It's what the mystics call the dark night of the soul, the wilderness experience, the mountain experience, whatever experience you want to label it. It's that divine discontent that wells up within us because we need to go to the next phase, the next level, and the next step. And that's how we do it on planet Earth. That's the way we do it. Now, the psychologist tells us this sense of separation and isolation and adriftness, anchorlessness, begins the moment we arrive at birth. The baby is having, now normal circumstances we're talking about, the baby's having a lovely time floating around in its mother's womb, and everything is taken care of. It's safe, it's secure, it's warm, it's being nourished, it's being nurtured. All is well, and it's just doing very fine, thank you very much. Then all of a sudden it happens, the shock. The baby's expelled, thrust out of the womb, its safe place, into a strange place, a place of cold and noise and weirdness, and there's a sense immediate of detachment, there's a sense immediate of I've lost something, there's a sense immediately of that isolation and that separation, and we are told that it is in those moments then that we begin to really get a feeling of nothing is permanent. When a baby is around too, they tell us they realize that objects are permanent, and until then, when they disappear, they think they're gone forever. So if you're playing with a 1-year-old and so on, or a 9-month-old, and you're going, people, when you disappear, they think you're gone, that's it, and you're not coming back until you do come back, or if a toy falls, they think that's it, it's gone forever. And so this is the first moment when we think, oh my goodness, my home is gone. My support system is gone. My nurturing system is gone. I'm separated from my life force. And so the sense of that terrible dependence upon everything outside of myself sets in. And I think it was Thomas Wolfe, I think, that expresses it most succinctly when he says, you know, we arrive naked and alone in exile, and we lose the language of heaven, and we keep seeking its unopened door. But always we remain alone, separate, and lost. Oh, weep now, I say. It kind of reaches in and plucks the strings of that loneliness chord within us and makes us think, oh my God, so that's what it is. That's what's the matter with me. All right, I know now. And so here you are, and all of us are experiencing this to varying degrees and varying levels as we move through our lives. And we have to understand what's going on so that we can handle it. But most people think that loneliness is a terrible thing. Sometimes it's a terrible thing, but at other times it is not a terrible thing. It is a good thing. There is value in alone time once we understand how life works. But you and I know many lonely people, all the lonely people. We know them, and sometimes we are amongst them ourselves. And so we have to get a handle on this and a sense on this with regard to how do we move through this? How do we manage this? What is it about, Alfie? I mean, what do I do with it? Where do I put this? How do I work with this? And so we're going to do that today so that forevermore, amen, when loneliness strikes us and visits us and so on, we're okay with it. We're okay with it. It's part of the human condition, and it's an opportunity for wider and deeper connection. Now, of course, the mystics will come along and say, oh, that's all baloney. Okay, here's where all of that really comes from, and it comes from that terrible longing within ourselves to return back onto our former glory before the world began, when we were that integrated sense and sensibility, one with our source. And that's what that is all about. It's the longing, the longing. We sing it in Advent, come, O divine Messiah, come, come. Awaken within us your light. Shine forth through us, come, come. Maranatha is the cry of Advent, and Maranatha is the word for come, come, come. Be where I am. Show up, show up. But it's not just show up for me, it's show up in me and show up through me and show up as me as we understand that now, as we understand it now. And so it's part of our cycling, it's part of our seasons to go through this. But though I walk through the valley of the shadow of darkness and death, death in the sense that I'm lost and I don't know where to find me, I'm detached, I'm isolated, I'm in a bubble, life goes on out there and I don't seem to be a participant in it. Though I walk through it, I will fear no evil, because even though I have the appearance and the illusion of being separate and alone, I'm not. For you are with me, and your power and your strength and your life and your light and your love is my strength. It strengthens me only when I'm recognizing that and I identify with it. So while I'm in the separation zone, while I'm into that very deep loneliness or whatever that is, I'm in the nightmare, I'm dreaming the nightmare, and I need to wake up from the nightmare. And I have to do that. And I can only do that when I understand. I have to know something in order to understand how to handle and manage what comes to me, how to handle and manage that. And so the real thing about it is that that deep divine longing is just something within us saying to us, you're not the experience you are going through. and you're not who you think you are, and you're not what you think you are, and there is more to all of this, and you could have the more and know the more and be the more if you would just shake yourself up a little bit and get real. Get with the program, you know. Get with the program. Or you can lollygag around and just go in circles and think that woe is me and poor me and pity me and nobody loves me and all of that jazz. Now, every one of us knows poor, lonely Joe. We know somebody who is poor, lonely Joe. We have been poor, lonely Joe ourselves. We're all very aware of that. And so poor, lonely Joe is the guy, you know, he comes to work, and he's very amenable, and he's very, you know, nice, and he does his work well, and he's cordial. But, you know, he's somebody that never engages and never really gets involved, doesn't seem to have a social life, and keeps to himself. And he's the guy that sits in the corner in the cafeteria on his own and so forth, reading his book or whatever. And he's the one that everybody is going, shh. Now, when we have the party, be sure and ask Joe to come along, because, you know, he can mix and mingle with other people. Who knows, he might find somebody at the party that might, you know, that might get together. Anything could happen. But make sure he comes, because it'll be good for him to be in the company of others for a couple of hours, you know. A little bit of jolly in his life is a good thing for him. And so Joe comes along, but Joe still finds the spot in the corner and is on his own and so forth. And then somebody says, oh, I know so-and-so, and you know, she's a bit lonely too. What if we bring the two of them together? Can you imagine it, bringing two lonely people together? The last thing in the world a lonely person wants is to be hooked up with another lonely person. That's madness, you know? That's, you know, a double whammy of the same condition and thing. So that's not what they need. So with our good intentions, you know, we cannot do that, because we can't imagine this poor unfortunate with anybody who's kind of normal. And yet, we as truth students ought to be able to see that Joe is only experiencing and undergoing a condition, and that too can pass and will pass if we treat the chap, you know, the way we treat everybody else. But Joe's the kind of guy that hangs around the office when everybody else can't wait to dash out the door, get on home, get into their life outside of the office. No, he's hanging around, he's doing extra stuff. He just doesn't like the thought of going home to an empty house, an unwelcoming and unwarm house, to sit in his own company and be miserable in it, and not being able to wait for the next day when he can get up and get out and go to work and forget about his condition and state for 8 hours or whatever that length of time is. Now, we're aware of all of that. And the thing is, it's not that Joe hasn't found the right person at all. It's not that he's not good at mixing and mingling with company. It's because Joe hasn't found himself as the right person yet. And it's the same for all of us. When we find ourselves at that level of understanding, then we're open and ready to find ourselves in others out there in the world. And that's our task, and that's our challenge, to find ourselves, to come home to ourselves. When we're lonely, we're in the far country like the prodigal. We haven't made the decision to get up and go home. We're still in the far country, separated from all that is good, whole, and wholesome and familiar to us, and the warmth and the sustenance that we once knew. So your task and my task is to get up out of our inertia, out of our loneliness, or wherever the feeling, the mood is, that is a negative mood, and turn it around. So the condition of loneliness is a mental and an emotional condition that plunges us into that isolation, separation, apartness from, and that which depletes the spirit of us. That's the condition. And it's given to you and it's given to me to take charge of that and turn that around. You and I are the only ones who can do that. Who can do that. And in order for that to happen, I have to allow myself to know it, to think it, to feel that it could change, it could happen, and it doesn't have to be like this. That this too is passing the state of aloneness. And we do all kinds of crazy things in trying to find ourselves. We go out there and try and search for ourselves out there somewhere where we know we're not going to, where the truth in us knows we'll never find ourselves out there, because we have to come back here to find ourselves. And God help us all, do we want to fit fit in. Oh my goodness me. Social acceptance is so important to so many of us. We'll do anything to fit in. We'll wear clothes we don't even like because everybody's wearing them. We'll wear shoes that hurt because everybody's wearing them. We'll join the club we're not particularly interested in, but everybody who's anybody has joined that club. And so we'll do all of these things just so that we can be the same as and fit in and feel part of. But does that help us to fit in and feel part of? Of course not. It's our own doing, and we bring it upon ourselves. These children are not only, they're 2 minutes out of the womb and all of a sudden they're being dressed up with all these label brands and so on. And God help us if Granny gives us something from Kmart, it's never going on that child's back. That can go to Goodwill. But my child is only going to wear the you see. And we wonder why we turn out to be the way we are. We're conditioned. We're conditioned. It's all about labels. God help us. Now, how silly is that? How silly is that? How many amongst us have the guts, the courage, and the oomph enough just to wear what we want to wear because it feels good to us to wear it. It looks, as we think, good on us. And I'm wearing it because of that. Give me the do-da-do-da-do-da-da, and I put it on my back, and I look like a pudding tied in two. I'm not getting out of that because I look like a pudding tied in two. I don't care who made it and what it cost. It's not going on my back. Give me the Kmart thing. If it looks good, I'm out the door. That's the way it is. That's the way it is. And so you have control over your own life and every little bit of it, inside and out. It's yours to control. It's yours to direct. It's yours to make your decision around whatever you are. And if you're going to be lonely, and if you're going to be miserable, and if you're going to be all of that, then decide you're going to do it because you have decided you are going to do it, not anybody else. I'm going to be lonely. I'm lonely. Leave me alone. I'm lonely. I'm in this mood now, and I'm going through this mood now. I'll come through. I won't always be here. So don't try and fix me and mend me and so on, because you can't. I have to do that. Leave me alone to do my own job. But be there when I want you to be there. You know, I'll let you know when I need your help. But let me be, let me be. I don't know what gem might be in this for me. I just don't know. Alone time can be the best possible time we could ever be in. And let me remind myself and you that the only way I'm going to the next level, the only way I'm going to come a little bit more closer to coming home to myself is in silence and stillness and meditation. I have to be alone for that. Alone time is good. Now, isn't it interesting that when I want to be alone, people think I'm odd. So if somebody was to call you up and say, well, I'm having this gathering, and, you know, it's a very intimate group, and only my closest friends are going to be there. And since you're one of my closest friends, I would love it if you could join us too. And you say, oh, I'm sorry, I can't do that. And they say, oh, you can't? That's disappointing. Why can't you do it? Well, you see, that's the time for my alone time. I've scheduled that as my alone time. They're going to think she's crazy. She's crazy. But if I said to you, oh, well, you see, I already have planned, or I have to do this, and I have to do that, and I have to do, they wouldn't mind. That's okay. I have an excuse. But if I was to say what is really genuinely true, oh, that's the time for me to have for myself, it's my alone time, and I want to keep the date with myself. And as much as I'd love to be there, I can't do it this time, but next time, give me a rain check. People think you're, oh, she's odd. She's odd. That's weird. And so we're not even allowing each other to be honest enough to share that. And I mean, some people think they're hooked on at the hip. And if they're not hooked on at the hip with something, something's the matter. What's the matter with him? He wants alone time. What's the matter with her? She wants alone time. What's this thing alone time anyway? I mean, people are so afraid of being alone that they never get to find themselves. They never get, they're so afraid of being alone, they never get to find themselves, because you can only find yourself when you are alone. Do you understand that? You can only find yourself when you are alone in your own company, free of distractions. And that's why silence and stillness and meditation is beautiful. Now, You can walk by a lake and have all of that. You can sit by a lake and have all of that. You can sit by the sea. You don't have to be sitting in a pretzel position with this incense and the oming and all the rest of it going on in the background of the incense going up and the candles lighting and all of the paraphernalia, the appearance of something happening. I could be in that setting and be all over the place, or I could be in a crazy busy place and really be in that stillness and centered in the awareness of that I amness that is emanating all around me and about me and in me and through me and as me. So being alone has nothing got to do with the proximity of people at all. I could be the loneliest I've ever been in a crowd. You know, you read about the face of the lonely crowd and all of that. Or I could be alone when I'm on my own. It has nothing, as I say, to do with if you're in company. But here's the thing. No two individuals ever will manage to fully and truly, intimately, no matter how beautiful and wonderful the relationship is, could be a terrific spousal relationship, whatever that is, will ever succeed in true unification or unity with the other. It's impossible. It's not humanly possible. No two atoms will ever unite with each other, no matter how compacted the substance they are in, spinning in. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. It takes something much more than a human aspect of our being for that to occur. It takes a divine, higher level awareness of what life is, which is love, unconditioned and unconditional, for that kind of union to take place. It's a mystical marriage, that is, and it's extremely, extremely rare. So I don't care how close you think you are to your spouse or whatever, I'm saying don't think that you're going to reach that sense of that personal alignment and unification with the divine because of that particular relationship. It's not going to happen. Rarely, every now and again, you have glimpses close to it, but always between two individuals, there is a reserve, there is a withholding, and there are certain barriers, always. And so we have to be okay with that. We have to be okay. The only thing that dissolves barriers is this divine, unconditioned and unconditional at-one-ment, which is love, which is pure, undiluted love. It's the Sat-Chit Ananda. It's the experience of the infinite, eternal consciousness of bliss. Sat-Chit Ananda. And it's available to you. It's available to me. But it's not going to happen if I don't have alone time. It's not going to happen if I am incapable of going into stillness, going into silence, going into meditation on my own. Remember, we walk the road of life alone together. That's the way it is. We are always alone in our own lives because we were always alone in our own thinking. Through our own thinking, that's where the aloneness comes. I am always alone in my own mind, in my own thoughts, in my own thinking, in my own consciousness. And until I'm one with all of that within myself, I cannot be one with that anywhere out there. So I have to come home to myself before I can come home to you. And when I love you, I have to love you in love. We are all in love all of the time. And when I love you, I have to love you in love. And when I love you, I have to love the world in you. I have to love myself in you. I have to love everything in you and through you and as you. I will not just love you alone. You are not the only one that I am going to love. And we need to be okay with that. I am not going to love one person and one person alone on this plane. It's not the way I'm made. It's not the way I'm wired. It's not the way you're made, and it's not the way you're wired either. Some companion may walk a very close walk with me while I'm going through this plane, but I can only love you in loving the other, in loving the world, in loving myself, because I'm always in love, and love is always in me. So I need to get that straight so that I don't begin to possess you and own you and have you possess and own me. It's such an important understanding to have. Love's gift is to free you to be the best of yourself and to support the growing, expanding good within you. That's why I would marry you, so that you can be in my corner, my cheerleader, and I can be in your corner and be your cheerleader too. Not to find the other half of myself or to find what's lacking in me, but to support the wonder and the grace and the glory I've discovered in you, to say, rah, 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 go girl, go man, I'm here for you, I'm your best supporter, I'm your best friend, go for it. Be free to explore, discover, and know yourself. That's what the Creator's love does for us. And we're supposed to be the image and likeness of that and emulate that in each other's lives. Are you ready this week to get out there amongst the lonely people, and you might be one yourself, and to know and to glow as that love that is personified in and through and by means of you, that raises and lifts and lightens everything and everyone around you? Are you ready for that? Do you think you're up for it? Yes. Regardless of what your mood is right now? Yes. Do you know that moods can change? Yes. Are you ready to change your whiny, whingy moods? So that you can get out there and raise other people up out of their whiny, whingy moods? And be of good cheer and goodwill as you go through these weeks of preparation for the great and glorious dawning that occurs within yourself. Are you ready? Yes. Oh gosh, I am. I know I am. And I know it's going to happen because you have said yes to it. And I salute that decision in you, and I salute the fire and the light and the love that's going to go out through you into that world and shake it up and raise it up and help it to mend and fix and heal. It is done, and so it is.
Joy to the world, the Lord is come.